Hi, welcome back to the All Stargate channel. This week, Season 2 with the follow-up to Thor's hammer, Thor's Chariot. Carter's giving a briefing about an idea she had for a Goa'uld protection system to make sure they can't get caught unawares, but it's boring, so the episode interrupts with the alarm for the gate activating. There's no one due back, so there's some nervousness at what crazy things someone might be trying this time, and no one wants to have to hose off the back of the iris again if Apophis starts sending more bad guys through. But the only thing they managed to scrape off the back is iridium, notable because when they went to that planet back in Thor's hammer, Daniel had left that box to be given to Thor, a carefully conceived and minutely detailed collection of information on the nature of the human race, a handshake to intelligent life out there, which has apparently just been splattered all over the iris because there was iridium in there too. Hammond decides to send the Malp through and we get a nasty sight. Slaughtered locals who have been killed by the Jaffa, and Gerwin, the local who'd shown them around, is pleading for help. Remember, when they visited this world, the Thor's hammer locked up Teal'c, and so they sorta broke it, getting him out. SG-1 insists that they have to replace their divot, but as I said last week, the unofficial theme is Hammond says no to going through the gate. This time he's admitting he's just playing devil's advocate, though. He just wants a good reason for them to do this.
I am responsible.
General, I gave the order.
And I fired the staff at the machine.
And I had nothing to do with it. Anyway, my brilliant Goa'uld protection system lecture only has another 6 hours left. Go, please, go now. They head through and find the bad news just keeps getting worse. The Goa'uld are already building pyramids, the preferred landing site for their motherships, because when you declare yourself a god, you don't half-ass a runway. But they find Gerwin, who says that their former host from Thor's hammer, Kendra, knew what needed to be done. Contact the visitors from Earth who would come to save them, even though it'd mean the sacrifice of even more of their warriors just to get to the gate in order to dial it and send that through. So yeah, probably a good thing they came back. The reunion is cut short as the Jaffa show up with their staff weapons, and even worse, their horn. Oh shit, we're in trouble now. They have no choice but to split up, Teal'c and O'Neill drawing the pursuing Jaffa off, while Gerwin leads them the other way, though off-screen teleportation seems to work for our heroes too, because despite that, O'Neill and Teal'c somehow manage to get ahead of them. She takes him to see Kendra, or rather, her grave.
Kendra used her knowledge only to heal, and this was her reward. They've already killed over half of our people.
Yeah, this is just getting more and more awkward, isn't it? Just about the only thing that'd make it more awkward is to start grave robbing. Cool, any health packs? Our party needs health packs. She starts to get that Iron Man glove to work, and Daniel figures it's because she was host to a Tok'ra, much like Kendra was host to a Goa'uld. And so, like her, she retains the ability to use their gizmos, so that's cool. Gonna take some work, of course, and there's no time for that now, so it's off to the cave where the locals are hiding, who aren't too happy to see them. Gerwin and O'Neill do the best they can to convince them that they can maybe help fix this unfathomably bad disaster that they've created. So they grudgingly take Teal'c and O'Neill out to scope out the bad guys, while Gerwin thinks hard about the title of this episode and mentions the Hall of Thor's Might. Well, might sounds like it might mean weapon, so Daniel and Carter figure this could be a big help in dealing with these hooligans. Speaking of which, O'Neill gets a good look and notes that these don't look like Apophis guys. They're more like Ra's flunkies. And Teal'c identifies them as Harurarur, the son of Ra and Hathor. And he's not a nice guy, but then again, if you were named after the sound of an angry dog, you wouldn't be nice either. But yeah, even the other Goa'uld don't like him. To prove it, he starts using the gauntlet on the guy who brought Teal'c and O'Neill out here, but he refuses to talk. And so O'Neill and Teal'c decide to help him out by shooting all of the Jaffa. But sadly they can't kill Harurarur because he has a personal shield to protect his ass. But this is just a tactical retreat. With those pyramids, they can bring in more Jaffa and death gliders to make their lives miserable. And with the gate guarded, there's no evacuating these people or bringing in support. So that just leaves the Hall of Thor's Might and O'Neill's grudging approval. Where's Braytek when you need his Obi-Wan badassery, huh? So Daniel and Carter go with Gerwin to the hall, and there it is. Not too impressive, huh? I mean, for a kind of totem pole, it's pretty cool, but I wouldn't hold my prom here. Daniel soon figures out that this is a gateway like Thor's hammer had been. And sure enough, this is the hall. And while I still wouldn't hold my prom here, it'd be a good gathering for a sex dungeon convention. Thor shows up to kick off the festivities by announcing that only the worthy may see his might. So I'm not completely dismissing the sex dungeon yet. So they'll have to find some way to prove their worth. First, you must fill this in and then carpet it. Make this room pop. Actually, they have to cross this beam to prove, I don't know, stuff. Sam does it no problem, but I guess that's not good enough. They all have to prove their worth because worth is judged by a combination of bravery and balance. There's actually more to it than that, but it wouldn't have surprised me if this was the actual test. They usually are dubious that way, right? I tell you now that the only one who may cross are those I judge worthy, so each of you must provide a urine sample. Huh? Only winners may proceed, and winners don't do drugs. Gerwin is next, but halfway across there's a tremor and she falls down, but not off, so Daniel has to try to help her. It must be a relief not being the one who's least physically useful this time, huh, Daniel? Of course, they're fine. They were never in danger. This was all some kind of elaborate hologram to test if someone would have the courage to risk their life for another.
Now you must add wisdom to courage.
First, you must pick a card, any card. That completed, they are beamed over to round 2, the runes. But they're going to have to hurry because things are getting tense outside. Teal'c and O'Neill are setting up claymore mines in anticipation of the coming fight. Without the use of Thor's might, whatever that will do for them. I mean, for all they know, it could stand for Thor might help. Besides, the Lord helps those who help themselves, and Thor probably graduated from the same school of thought, so O'Neill gives a bit of a boom-boom to deal with the Jaffa. But clearly this is just buying them a bit of time. The Jaffa likely have them outnumbered and are better armed, not to mention the whole Death Glider thing. It all depends on Carter and Daniel.
Can you solve this? Okay.
Well, that sounds off to a promising start. He starts identifying some of the runes, which is where the title finally comes in. The last one is wagon and refers to Thor's chariot. Which, sure, we can use any help we can get at this point. But the middle symbols, they make no sense. Dice cup and a horse? I don't know. Maybe they need to go down to the track and bet on the long shot. There's also some pictographs and some simple geometric shapes.
I have no idea what he wants us to do.
Oh yeah, thanks. That'll take the pressure off. This is like trying to pee when someone is knocking on the door saying to hurry up.
There is no shame. Perhaps, in more time, you'll have come of age.
Excuse me? Could you just, please, just 1 second?
Yeah, don't rush things. Nobody said this was a time test, Hemsworth. Okay, well, this can't be any worse than the SATs, so try skipping this to another problem and come back to this one, okay? Daniel rethinks the runes and thinks that instead of betting on the ponies, these might actually be numbers, as they were later sometimes treated. In this case, the numbers are 3, 14, 15, 9. Carter figures out that it's pi, but that can't be the answer. That's just a label put on that number. They need to show that they understand this somehow. And as anyone with even basic geometric knowledge knows, pi is the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter.
Pi is the formula for finding the circumference of a circle by measuring the radius.
Well, I suppose technically, since the radius is half the diameter, I hope Thor was thinking the same way you are. Yep, looks like he did. It reveals an enormous red button, exactly what this situation demands. All we gotta do is just hit that now, and I'm sure a wall will slide back and show us all the big piles of weapons, huh, Thor, old buddy, old pal? Well, actually what we get instead is the hologram of Thor disappearing and being replaced by this scrawny alien.
I am the actual one, whom you know as Thor.
Get the hell out of here. You're the guy known for swinging a giant hammer? I'd be surprised if you could tap in a nail to hang a picture. Meanwhile, the Jaffa seem to have thoroughly searched the area and are closing in on the cave, where Teal'c and O'Neill can only make a last stand to buy time until Daniel comes back with the sign of Thor's might. From a guy who has the build of Gollum. Carter says that he looks just like one of the Roswell Greys, which means these guys must have visited Earth before and swiped Mulder's sister. Gerwin is amazed and keeps talking to Thor, much to the other's embarrassment.
Gerwin, it's a hologram. It was probably recorded 1,000 years ago. It can't hear you.
On the contrary, my image is a living transmission.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
I am communicating to you from my quarters aboard the Asgard ship Galiskner.
And we're back to being awkward again.
We need your help. The Gould are here.
Impossible.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Cimmeria is a safe world.
This suddenly became really, really awkward. They explained that Teal'c is a good guy, so when he was captured, they needed to free him.
And by doing so, you have opened Cimmeria to attack by the Gould.
So you wish me to align myself with people who stumble around breaking my shit and getting my people slaughtered. I'll get back to you on that. Carter asks Thor where the weapons are so they can fix this. You know, so some big laser cannons or something that can shrink the mothership to the size of a coconut. We can just throw a blanket over it. Do you got anything like that? Or something with quantum in the name, maybe?
We didn't mean to interfere.
How about a freeze ray? Got one of those? O'Neill is less than impressed when they return to the cave without any super weapons, and with the Jaffa bombarding the place, it's hard to find fault with that. In the face of the likely slaughter of the remaining locals, well, they have no choice but to surrender and hope for the best.
Before they rode into battle, the Sioux used to say, "This is a good day to die."
You can't fool me, that was Worf. Luckily, Thor's Chariot is more than just the number 9. It's Thor's mothership, which soon appears in the sky over the pyramids and starts beaming up both them and all the Jaffa. Only gets away. He uses the Stargate. Girwin then gets beamed down. She had a little chat with Thor after they left and explained that they are protectors of all but the Gould. They are at war with them. They're going to set stuff back again and program the new hammer to make an exception for Teal'c, so please don't break that one too. Thor and the Asgards are a significant part of the lore of Stargate, so this episode demands a must-see. The episode feels a lot stronger than last week's as well, and makes it clear that our heroes aren't trying to weasel out of blame for their involvement. It's meant to show that while they are the heroes, their exploration can have unintended and disastrous consequences. Yet the necessity of this work demands it, as we'll see in November. Like it or not, humanity is being pulled into a high-stakes galactic game, and the only way to push back from the table is to shut down the gate and wait for the inevitable conquest. So it just can't be helped. All they can do is try not to cause problems, and then try to fix it if they happen to do so. My only complaint about Thor's Chariot is that I'd have preferred more in the way of the tests. Determining one's worth based solely on knowing what pi is to 5 decimal points, it seems a little bit too simplistic, and the achievement seems a little too easily acquired for our heroes. But that's a minor quibble. Thor's Chariot is an enjoyable hour that advances the meta story and introduces a significant character to the series.
All hail the Overlord! All hail the Overlord!
Nothing, Jack. Nothing.
Well, we did meet the real Thor.
Did you now? Nice fella?